Hello, friends, and welcome to the U-Turn podcast. This is your host, Ashley Stahl. I'm a career expert, a speaker, a best-selling author of the book U-Turn. Get unstuck, discover your direction, design your dream career. And I created the U-Turn book and the podcast as a place to help you connect to who you truly are at your core. And that's why every single week, I want to bring a guest on with the intention of helping you expand what's possible for you, both in your confidence, whether it's in work or love, and just in life in general. So let's get into this week's episode. U-Turn people, it's Ashley Stahl here, and I was very strongly recommended to interview Erin Phiel, who runs an award-winning, nationally ranked consulting agency for a decade and a half. She founded the Mindfix group, which I think is so fun. There's as far as names go, there's a place in New York when I was living in New York called You Break, I Fix. And I feel like you're the Mindfix group in 2018. And she, Mindfix works with leaders, entrepreneurs, high achievers, and those motivated to experience change to optimize performance, remove mental, emotional, behavioral roadblocks. And, of course, her clients are really here to stop having to cope with challenges like anxiety or procrastination or perfectionism, imposter syndrome, anger, money fears. And her programs are really about identifying and eliminating those root causes or those challenges so they don't keep coming back. She's an EO Global Certified Speaker, Global Leadership Conference presenter, Gotta Love EO Entrepreneurs Organization. I actually have been doing public speaking coaching lately, and I coached somebody from EO, and they were second to none. Like, just such a fun brain to work with. So it says so much that Erin is an EO Global Certified Speaker, international speaker on rapid transformation in human behavior. Like, who doesn't love rapid transformation? Like, we all want the transformation to happen faster. And she's pretty well versed in, not only does she have her degree in psychology, but psychological modalities such as PMA, IFS, internal family systems. For those of you who don't know that, mind shifting, advanced conversational hypnosis, neurofeedback, psychedelics. There's rapid trauma resolution. So I'm really excited to talk about how to actually break through today. And I'm going to bring you something that I'm trying to break through, because why not show everyone how this gets done?
Cool.
So thank you so much, Erin, for being here with me.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's fun.
What got you into this kind of mindset work? I feel like everyone has their own experience that pulls them in.
Yeah. I started to be fascinated with psychology probably around age 12 or 13. I studied it in school, and then in high school, I got my undergraduate degree in psychology and was kind of headed in that direction. And then took a turn for almost 2 decades and ended up going into web development. So I got to combine my love of psychology with art and then technology. But after about 15 years of running that business, I ended up having chronic pain, and no doctors could figure it out. Nobody could help me. I started to get depressed. I started to get super anxious. No therapists or counselors or coaches could help me with that. So it was just this downward spiral. And I realized, if I don't figure a way out of this, like, it's going to be pretty bleak. So after several years of looking for the answers, I basically said, I have to figure this out myself, and sat down. And essentially, my strength is combining and piecing together different things that do work in a way that's exponentially better than any one of them by themselves, and have a different modality and way of thinking about working with frustrations and challenges that I think actually, a lot of what I learned in school with my psychology degree, it makes it irrelevant. So that's how I ended up with Mindfix.
Beautiful. Okay. And, you know, I was reading all the things that you have in your bio that you can do, like helping people with anxiety and procrastination. And everybody has a different sticking point, like I've dealt with anxiety a lot of my life, and I feel like I'm in a pretty good space with it after, thousands of dollars in therapy. But I guess what I was thinking about when I saw your list was around money. Like, so many people, and I will take myself as an example. So actually, Kirsten, my podcast producer who introduced us, her and I are releasing a podcasting course in the next month. It'll probably be out by the time this episode comes out. And I was just telling her, we have a really large email list. We engage with everyone. We email a lot. but I haven't sold anything to my audience in a very long time. Like we have sponsors on the show. My courses are just on their website. People buy them sometimes, but I've never launched anything new, or I have not for a long time. And there's a story that is living inside of me of like, oh, people just don't buy from me anymore because I don't really sell. And that's just who I am. And so I hope people want to join us in this awesome podcasting course that really, shows how we've grown the show in such a big way. But yeah, I imagine everybody has a different belief of like, this isn't going to work for me. I'm going to put myself out there. I'm not going to get met. Nobody's going to buy this from me. So I wanted to start with money because, from a business standpoint, not personally, I'm looking at this course thinking this is a pretty badass course that we made here. And I hope people join us in feeling this sadness in advance of launching the course, which I think a lot of people feel when they're putting themselves out there, whether it's for a job interview or some sort of opportunity. So, yeah, I would love to just kind of look at this or anything that anyone's going through as a way to, I don't know, start helping anyone who's listening that might need.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so one of the things that I'll share, we'll start with, and then we'll look at two of the things that can create this stuckness that you're experiencing and talk about it, make it relevant to everyone.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, people will have a challenge like, I've got this fear of putting myself out there. I'm really scared to talk about money with people, or I just deal with anxiety in the morning. And people will feel like there's something wrong with them, or personal development is bullshit because I've worked on it for so long. But what I find is that when people have put a lot of energy and time into trying to solve problems like these, they've been trying to address issues at the conscious mind level.
Mm,
We're going to sit down. I'm going to tell you that it doesn't make sense. I'm going to tell you back that you're a badass and you got this, girl. Like,
yeah.
and then I'm going to, and you're going to have a coach who's like, I want you to write down all the reasons why this is going to succeed. And it's all trying to deal with a mind where thoughts and emotions have already come up and they're already there and they're sitting there for you, and you're trying to push them down, ignore them, rewrite right over them. And it's exasperating and it's exhausting because you're trying to change things at the conscious level
Mhm.
when these types of issues are at a subconscious level. So
Right.
when we work with the subconscious level, that's where rapid transformation can happen. That's where things can literally take. On Monday, I had a call that a woman was terrified to go into. 4 minutes, after 4 minutes, I'm not kidding, it wasn't even five, it was 4 minutes. She went from terrified, frozen, had been thinking about this for 3 weeks to, no, I'm fine, it's better. It's like, I'm excited to do it. I'm going to crush it. She can't manipulate me. Thank you. I'm done. And that's the difference between we worked with what was underneath the surface instead of her trying to work with things at the conscious level. So with issues like what you mentioned, there's this sense of like, it's not going to work.
Mhm.
Like, I'm nervous it's not going to work. And then there's also some concerns about what happens if I do that. What
Mhm.
we've got are two things that we could look at separately, and many of us have both of them that help us create this sense of stuckness. Uh, Often, many of us are impacted by past experiences. So sometimes, as we move forward and we start to do things, our mind is like, oh, this is just like this experience from the past. It
Mhm.
could be young childhood, it could be another business failure, it could have been a launch that went wrong. I was, as you saw, I've been speaking for a long time. I had two talks that were shocking, that things didn't go according to plan. There were miscommunications, and I found myself frozen. I'm like, what when we haven't cleared the emotional charge around past experiences that are similar to what we're dealing with, those past experiences will get triggered over and over. And we go through that same fear, emotion, charge, stuckness
Mhm.
right now because we didn't address or clear the emotion around the past events. So, one of the most empowering things is to go back to past events that are similar to what we're doing now and make sure the emotional charge and is drained around it so that those events don't have that feeling. I've seen people who have been stuck, whether it's in relationship or with money or in business. We go back and we take the charge out of some past events that had similarities, and suddenly there's no problem. So
Mhm.
memories and past experiences can be one thing.
Mhm.
The second thing that can impact people without them realizing it is that because of our past experiences and the meaning we've created and the meaning we've given to past experiences, we are all walking around with the equivalent of tapes looping in the background 24/7. Like, it's not going to work out. I'm not competent. People don't want to buy from me. And
Mhm.
they're just in our subconscious playing on loop.
Mhm.
We don't want to hear them and we try not to pay attention to them. We try to push it down. We try to go against them and prove that they're wrong. But until we come in and we figure out a way to hit stop
Mhm.
on those tapes, which in our world we call clearing beliefs,
Mhm.
it will keep going and we're pushing against the resistance. So
Mm.
changing the faulty programming and clearing it out, just like clearing out a computer virus,
Mm.
we've watched people who have been frozen for years and then within an hour, there's
Gone.
no problem. So
Mm.
those are two of the things that can be causing people stuckness, especially as it relates to money. That
Mhm.
when those are addressed, fear, stuckness, not moving forward can clear.
My friend, are you ready to launch your own podcast? Now more than ever is the time to start. Since I launched the U-Turn podcast in 2018, I've grown this show to hit the top charts, and we've even been so grateful to bring in over 6 figures in sponsorship deals nearly every year. And we have amazing conversations with top leaders and experts, as you know, and I just can't believe to this day that I get to have this much fun and that the show gets to support my business with sponsors we love that we get to share with you about. I'm so enamored by the fact that I get to have this much fun and impact while being paid to do it, and I want the same for you. So if the idea of you doing the same, creating a podcast, monetizing it, and making an impact feels exciting and expansive, you're in the right place. And I want to share with you that my podcast launch course is coming. But in the meantime, I wanted to give you a complimentary, very detailed launch checklist filled with prompting questions to get you clear on your show, tactical action items, and everything else that you don't forget anything, as well as the creative ideas to market and launch with impact. So what I have here is more than just a free checklist. It's the beginning of your future as a fellow podcaster. I really want this for you if you have the inspiration I did. So head on over to ashleystahl.com/checklist and you can get this tool that's totally free. Again, that's ashleystahl.com/checklist for my free checklist to start your podcast and launch with love. I know that everyone listening, they're here because they want to grow, they want to expand in some way. And some of them are fortunate in that they can hire someone to help them with this. Others maybe are feeling like financially strapped, so they read books or they do something more affordable. Let's say that someone today is just listening to this podcast episode, whether it's anxiety or with me, this mindset, because I'm like, I haven't sold anything in so long. Why would they buy? They're not used to that from me, or whatever story I hold.
Mm-hmm.
What are some starting points for someone to get into their subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
start to reprogram these beliefs so that the charge from the past is lighter or gone and they can be
Mm-hmm.
free in the moment now?
Yeah. There's a simple 3-step process that anybody can go through. It's like taking an x-ray of
Mhm.
your mind.
Mhm.
And it's DIY, and people can take themselves through it and literally start to uncover what those tapes are on their own. If they take, set aside 20 minutes or so, but it's 3 steps. And I can walk people through this right now if that would be useful.
Yeah, I would love it. Love a good.
Okay. Okay, cool. So the very first thing can be wildly empowering for people as a standalone step. Like, people will have breakthroughs and ahas when they take this one step. So, let's say someone came to me and they're like, and I say, "What's the problem?" And they say, "I'm just scared of being seen. I'm scared of putting myself out there. I'm scared to be me." Right?
Mhm.
Cool. That's tricky to work on because it's like, what does that mean? So
Mhm.
step number one is coming up with an ultra clear pattern. What exactly is happening? So
Mhm.
it's like, for you, perhaps every time I go to promote, every time I think about promoting this new course, I freeze, my mind goes blank, I start procrastinating.
Mhm.
Or like, what is actually happening so that we could pinpoint it and we can look at it and go, this is the pattern. So we would know if it stopped. Because it's like, if you're like, I'm scared to be me, how am I going to know if that's you're not, or you are, we're not in agreement. A
Yeah.
clear pattern is when does it happen? What exactly is happening? How do you feel? Like what's going on? We can all point to it. So something like whenever it comes time to talk about money on a sales call, I feel panic and I shut down and avoid the question. Or whenever my wife um, glazes over when we're talking about money, I feel rage and furious and I start yelling.
Mm,
Come up with a very clear pattern, because if you don't, likely you're giving yourself some label. You're saying something is who I am. Like, I'm just a procrastinator.
mm.
I am anxious. I'm a 9 on the Enneagram. I'm an 8 Colby fact finder, and it's some label.
Yeah.
Just be clear. You're a person, you're experiencing a pattern, write it down. Get
Mm,
ultra clear. That's the first thing. So that's step number one. Step number two is look at this pattern and imagine the patterns happening. Like I'm starting to think about promoting the program, and track the thoughts that are showing up in your head, because they'll start to show up, and track the emotions that you're feeling
mm,
and put those down on a sheet of paper next to your pattern.
mm,
So it might be, I can't do this. I can't do this. It won't work. I don't know how to do this. It might be a flavor of, I'll never be able to do it. I always fail in the past. It's different for everybody.
mm.
And this is why this self-diagnosis and self-inquiry is so important, because you could have 10 people who are all scared to launch a course and they all have the different reasons. So track your emotions and your thoughts for your pattern is
Mm,
step number two. Step number three is where it all comes together and where you can get this x-ray of your mind. Step number three is you look at this cluster of emotions and thoughts that are happening, that you're experiencing, and you ask yourself a simple question. You say, what would I have to believe to be true
mm,
to keep experiencing these thoughts and emotions over and over again?
mm,
If it's like nobody's going to want to buy from me, it might be like I'm not valuable. What I do is not valuable. I'm an imposter. I'm a fake. Like map out everything, the beliefs underneath the surface that would sprout those thoughts, that would sprout those emotions. And what you'll have is a blueprint, like a template of like, these are the programs, these are the things that are looping
mm,
underneath the surface that I'm trying to not think about. Right. And then you'll have this list of beliefs that your subconscious mind is that exist in your subconscious mind. The tip to give everybody is that you may look at them and go, I can't possibly believe that.
mm,
Beliefs are not like I'm a female or I am a certain age. Beliefs are things that a part of us believes to be true. So maybe only 2% of you believes that to be true, but that 2% is causing a whole host of problems because you don't want to believe it. So oftentimes, what's fascinating is this list that you'll create for step number three is a bunch of things you have spent your whole life trying to prove wrong,
mm,
and that you don't think you believe, but it's underneath the surface. So, for example, if you had come up to me in high school and said, you're stupid, I would have said, absolutely not. I've got straight A's. I've got
mm,
scholarships. I'm in this AP program, and I would have argued with you. I am smart.
mm,
I'm smart. But if you would have looked in my diary, you would have seen like, I'm such an idiot. I'm so stupid. I got a B on my trigonometry test. And it was just me ripping into myself for not being smart. So we can have opposing beliefs. And
mm.
when we disacknowledge the part of us that believes something about us that we don't want to be true, it ends up backfiring and coming back and impacting us even more.
Mm, mm. So let's say that someone is noticing, that they're in the moment where their peace is disturbed. They notice that it's happening. They write down, they name it, they name the feelings that they're feeling. They look at it. Um, I imagine a lot of people, I know it starts with awareness, right? And a lot of people struggle to actually change because even though sometimes there's like a toxic amount of awareness, it's like, dude, you see this so clearly. How are we still in this story? So, um, how do you go from like, I'm aware to I'm clear? I know you talked about the rubber hitting the road with that third step. So I wanted to ask a little bit more about how it looks so that everyone listening could think about implementing this.
Absolutely. So sure, different beliefs have different stickiness levels.
Hmm.
There are many people listening who, once they clearly define their pattern, They're like, "Oh my god, it's not me," and they have a big breakthrough. There are many people who once they see these beliefs mapped out, they'll say, "Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. Oh my gosh, I don't believe that," and they'll be able to talk themselves out of it.
Right.
For other people, um, and especially for certain beliefs that were created at a very young age, it can be more challenging than that. So I love this question that you ask. What I can share is a couple kind of simple DIY tips that will work for a group of people. And then I'll share that some of the our dark, our deepest ones, the strongly held ones, I've had a hard time myself doing it on my own and having someone else to facilitate when you get to something. It's like trying to get to a spot on your back, with a massage and you can't quite reach it the same as
Yeah.
if someone is there doing it for you.
Yeah.
That being said, there are things that people can do. Um, one of the most popular DIY techniques for clearing beliefs is Byron Katie's The Work. It's
Oh,
very
yes.
famous.
Yep.
People love that, right? And it's a series of just four simple questions of like, is it true? Do you know for certain? Is it true?
Mhm.
Who would you be without this belief? What
Mhm.
happens if you turn it around?
Mhm.
So, people who are curious and really passionate and wanting to shift this programming that they find and they uncover in this process can look into her work,
Mhm.
and many people find that to be very useful and powerful. Other people who have more of a scientific approach may take some of these beliefs. Like, let's say it comes up that a part of you has the belief, like, I'm not capable. And they'll sit there and look at it. And what they'll do is they'll map out in volume all of the ways that they're capable. For
Mhm.
some people, this don't won't work, but for others, they're like, that's just how I am. But this is more in alignment with, say, the DeMartini method, where it's like part of you thinks that it sees just this, but if you can balance it out with volume and come up with all of the hundreds of ways that you are wildly capable and have been capable, it's almost like your brain can go, oh gosh,
Mhm.
I have not been acknowledging any of this. And
Mhm.
it's almost like the scale can tilt because you have not been paying attention to the other side of the equation. In reality, we are all things. We are happy and we are sad and we are kind and we are mean and we are evil and we are good. But we tend to focus on like one part that we want to be.
Mhm.
With these beliefs, if we have something, oftentimes we haven't been looking at the ways we've been the exact opposite. So some people find that that is more powerful than, say, Byron Katie's work for them. And those are two really economical ways that people can shift their own beliefs. There's a handful of other processes that we teach that we find to be a bit more impactful and reliable, especially with some of those really sticky ones or ones that were created at an early age, but there's quite a few steps and it's more time consuming to go through. But those two are things that people could start doing right away today.
Mm. I'm tempted to ask you to even ask me some questions around my little block to see if it helps other people ideate questions for themselves. I don't know if that we have enough time to do it or what your thoughts are on that, but
Yeah,
I'm not
like
afraid of being vulnerable in front of everyone in service.
absolutely. Let's try a couple things. Do we have some time here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's try a couple things. The first thing that we always do, and when you skip, I can share with everybody right now, skip this step and jump to what looks like the juicy, sexy stuff, and nothing will work. We see it all the time. So the first thing we're going to do is let's come up with a clear pattern. Let's figure out when this happens exactly, what is it around, and what's happening. Like, let's come up with a trigger statement and how it makes you think and feel.
Yeah, in 2016, my business made $5 million in course sales in 3 months, and I had a lot of overhead associated with that, and it was like an explosion of success after a lot of challenge.
Yeah.
The algorithm on Facebook changed, and next thing I knew, my business was, like, hemorrhaging money and overhead.
Yep.
I had to, like, dance like those birds on the Planet Earth show that are, like, dancing with each other, like, mating dances with my audience, so I had to make new offerings that I really loved, but I had to do it in a crunch for the business's revenue, and there came a point where it just felt like nothing was gonna fix this business revenue, nothing was gonna fix the overhead. And so I haven't really sold anything since. I created this podcast
Yeah.
because I was like, this is an amazing show that I want to do and it's going to connect with people. And I have
Yes.
this huge email list that I can just connect. I don't
Yeah.
have to go through this hustle and selling thing. Um, I can just serve. And now that the podcast has sponsors and finances coming in, I'm so grateful for that. Obviously it's not $5 million like a course sale explosion, but
Yeah.
I don't need that kind of money anyway. Even if it wants to come to me, that's great. But I think selling something new for the first time, I've had the same courses for years and years and
Yes.
this is the
Yes.
first new one.
Okay.
Yeah. And it
I've
just
got it.
perfect.
Okay. This is so helpful. I'm like feeling it here alongside with you. Okay. So, you know how we talked at the beginning, like 15 minutes ago, I was saying when people are stuck, there's two kind of main buckets of challenges. There can be the programs, like this is how I am, this is how things are.
Right.
And then there can just be like, there was something that happened and it was not addressed or cleared. And as you move forward, you are feeling what that past event is getting re-triggered over and over.
My friend, are you ready to climb into bed at night feeling extra comfy and cozy? If you are, then Cozy Earth is just for you. It was named one of Oprah's favorite things in 2018, and its best-selling bamboo sheet set is both temperature regulating and incredibly soft. I recently got these sheets for my new place in Florida, and wow, I feel like every night I'm just crawling into an actual cloud. So there's no more scratchy bedding, no more sticky, sweaty nights, just breezy, beautiful rest. And Cozy Earth's bedding collection offers a variety of luxury pillows, sheets, blankets, and more. Get ahead of your spring cleaning with fresh new bed linens from Cozy Earth, made from luxurious, high-quality fabrics you won't find anywhere else on the market. I mean it, they are really amazing. Head on over to ashleystahl.com/cozy. That's ASHLEYSTAHL.com/cozy. And enter the code UTURN, YOUTURN, at checkout for up to 35% off site-wide. Again, that's ashleystahl.com/COZY for 35% off your order.
I'm going to ask a very simple question. Would you say that that experience of having that happen, of that having to dance and then figure things out, and that sense of it doesn't matter what I'm going to do, like, does that experience still have an emotional charge in you? Yeah,
Yeah,
right. You can hear it in your voice. The tears almost start to come there. It's like it's still this traumatic experience.
yeah,
So what we can do here is I can take you through a process that if you're comfortable doing this in front of everybody
yeah.
and,
Who
and
cares? I'm
tap it, let's do it.
yeah. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Then let's tap into some of the most traumatic parts of that experience that you went through, and let's see if we can clear those. Because
Mm-hmm.
if we can reduce the impact of
Mm-hmm.
that past experience, and we could probably do a little bit literally here in a
Yeah,
handful of minutes, let's make a dent.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm happy to ugly cry on the U-turn podcast. I mean,
All right.
some of it out.
Do you, first, I want to ask though, do you get how having this crazy charged experience that is not clear can keep you frozen
Yeah.
in your current life, right? And for those people who are listening, maybe it would make more sense. I have a friend who was in Afghanistan and we were by the beach one time and having a lovely time. And then suddenly he's like, do you hear the helicopters? Do you hear the helicopters? And I was like, what? Those are waves, right? But that charge from being in war had triggered him. He had an absolute meltdown. And the same thing can happen to all of us to a lesser extent,
Right.
where that past experience freezes us and puts us into terror. And then we can't think clearly because we're in our mind is in a fight, flight, freeze response because of what happened from the past. So
Right.
let's see if we can't clear some of the charge around this really traumatic experience that occurred for you.
Yeah.
So let's if you had to say it in a few words, let's describe what was the experience. Let's say it in a few words. The experience was in 2016. Say it in a few words, the negative experience.
In 2016, after working my ass off to get something meaningful out there into the world, my company made a lot of money. I hired a lot of people, and my marketing lead generator turned, and the company wasn't going to be profitable anymore. So I went from super financially successful to failure over the course of 3 months.
Beautiful. All right. So I'm going to read it back to you.
Mhm.
I'm okay. In 2016, I went from super financially successful to what was it? What was the second? To
Like losing all my money.
losing all my money in 3 months.
Yep.
Okay. In 2016, I went from super financially successful to losing all my money in 3 months. Is that, can you feel that? Can you
Yeah.
feel that? Beautiful. So for this process, all I'm going to ask you to do is sit back and close your eyes, and I'll walk you through it.
Mhm.
Okay. And keep your eyes closed for the process. And I want you to just think about for a moment and bring to the surface, think about and feel this experience of in 2016, I went from super financially successful to losing all my money in 3 months. Okay. Okay. Now I'd like for you to let your mind go to the very worst part of this experience and then freeze it there. Let me know when you've done that.
Mhm.
Okay. So keep feeling this frozen moment. Just feel it. What kind of person are you being in this moment? Or what type of person?
Mm, I don't know if victimize is the word, but hopeless.
Beautiful. Thank you. Hopeless person. Great job. So feel yourself being a hopeless person. Okay. As a hopeless person, what is it that you want? What is your goal?
I wanna feel capable. I wanna feel like I don't have to be hopeless. Things can have
Beautiful. Mhm.
possibility.
Yeah. Capable and possibility. Thank you. So now feel yourself being a hopeless person. Exaggerate the feeling a little bit. Turn it up. And then tell me the first thing you notice about that feeling.
It just feels like a like physical suffocation.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you so much. You're doing great. So now what I want you to do is I want you to feel yourself achieving the goal of feeling capable and like there's possibility. Like imagine anything that you need to imagine in your mind to achieve this goal in your mind and feel what that would be like.
I'm
And
also
tell
looking
me,
for like a feeling of ease, like, oh, I
hmm,
create things and
okay,
people.
cool. So then your goal is to feel capable, to feel like there's possibility and to feel ease. So in your mind, do whatever you need to do to imagine achieving that goal in your mind and
Mhm,
really feel that, feel what that would be like.
mhm,
Let me know when you've done that.
I'm feeling it.
Love it. What's the very first thing you notice about that feeling?
It's fun. Like,
Um,
I feel a sense of fun getting to create things and share them.
Okay. Is there anything else that you notice about this feeling now that you've achieved that goal? Feeling capable and like there's possibility and there's ease.
I guess there's, like, some resistance of, like, my normal story that's, like, ease just that kind of ease doesn't happen in this space that I failed so bad in, even though I have so much ease in so many
Mhm.
areas. It's like,
Mhm.
this is
Got
my
it.
yeah.
Okay, so thank you. So what we're going to do here is this process is going to exist in the imagination. We're not actually dealing with reality or if things really are easy or not. What's so important is for you to fully achieve
Mhm,
that feeling of ease and possibility and capability just in your mind
mhm,
without any filtering or this can't be possible or anything. Whatever it takes to actually fully feel that. That's where the magic will happen. You can bring in disbelief like after this call and all the things later. But for now, just immerse yourself in actually achieving that goal in your mind. It's possible. There's ease. Totally feel capable.
mhm,
And it'll be like a full body experience.
mhm.
Okay. So what's the first thing you notice about the feeling now?
It's just a great feeling, like, just pleasant, I don't know.
Pleasant? Mhm.
Mhm.
Do you notice it anywhere in your body?
Yeah, like, it's like the what's the word? The constriction in my chest became, like, almost like a pit in my stomach, like,
Mhm.
nervous excitement, like,
Mhm.
positivity, but scary.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. Would you say, like, if be fully honest with me, would you say that you have fully achieved that goal of feeling capable and like there's possibility and there's ease in your mind?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So then, can you still feel yourself being a hopeless person?
If I want to.
What? Are you able to still connect to that identity, that feeling of being a hopeless person?
Yeah, I can if I want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's still there. Got it.
Mhm.
So feel yourself now being this hopeless person. And in this moment now, as a hopeless person, what is it that you really want?
Simplicity.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Like, I'm a
Thank you.
creator, I just create and people just get the benefit and it's helpful and the business just has its revenue from this. I mean, we have
Mhm.
other ways, but this is the way I'm the most scared.
Okay. So as a hopeless person, you want simplicity, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, great. Now, feel yourself being a hopeless person. Like, really, the more you can feel in this and drop into it, the
Mhm.
faster and the more rapid your transformation. So, feel yourself just being the hopeless person just for a moment. Turn it up, crank it up, exaggerate the feeling, and then tell me what's the very first thing you notice about that feeling.
Yeah, it's the same suffocation feeling.
Great. Thank you so much. Suffocation. I got it. All right. So now, what I'm going to ask you to do is feel yourself fully achieving the goal of simplicity. Imagine whatever you have to imagine to actually have achieved that in your mind.
I feel like such a cheese ball because I have this like huge smile on my face that listeners can't see. It's like, ooh, things are so
Yes,
like, yay.
that's so it's really important. Thank you
Oh
for
yeah.
like describing that to everybody. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, it's easier for me to access than I thought because I do have ease in other areas with my business and life. So it feels like, oh, let's take some of that from over there and bring it right here.
brilliant. Brilliant. So feel into that fully, and we'll pause any additional analysis or observation about it and just experience that feeling.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Now we're getting there. Now we're getting
Yeah.
there. I'm liking this. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. What's the first thing you notice about this feeling?
It like feels like it's pulling me towards the things that I want.
Yes. Yes. Wonderful. Fantastic job. And would you say that you've fully achieved the goal of simplicity in your mind right now?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well done. Okay. So then, are you able to still feel yourself being a hopeless person?
No.
Okay. Well done. So then, what I want you to do now is take your mind back to that frozen moment that was the worst part of your 2016 experience. Okay. Does that still feel like a big problem to you?
It feels fleeting.
Bleeding. Beautiful. Okay. So you can open your eyes.
Mhm.
So, like, there's other parts of the process. I might have, if we had a full hour, I might have double checked to see if there was anything in that fleeting that would remained. We might have gone to other parts of the 2016 experience.
Yeah.
But what happens
Real
is,
doozy.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
But what we were able to do is actually take this traumatic experience. We went to the worst part that felt hopeless, that left you feeling like you were incapable, that felt like physical suffocation. We took you right back to it, and you're like, no. We drained the charge from whatever it was down to a 0 or a 1. And when that's clear and you can do that to the pieces of your experience and that trauma, then your mind will not think that it's continuing to keep happening over and over every time you move towards something similar. And it won't like kick off the red alarm, the red alert and the code red alarm, just like my friend on the beach who was like, the helicopters are here again. It's like, no, 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 no. You're on the beach. You're okay. So we get to tell your mind and calm it down and clear those things. And the amazing part is what you just did, unlike talk therapy, unlike if I was here rooting you on and telling you how amazing you are, unlike journaling or any other these other processes or even meditation where you feel calm in the moment. What we just did unhooked something permanent from your subconscious and drained the charge, it won't come back. When you
Mm,
wake up tomorrow morning and you check in with that moment of the experience, like what we did is we pulled a splinter out.
mm,
Splinters don't come back, and that pain will not continue to bother you. So
mm.
you can see that was like what, 5 minutes or something. When we can multiply that and take similar processes, we're clearing and pulling out splinters to leave someone with tremendous relief in a very short period of time.
What is this modality called? Is it something that you've created? Is it something that you're working from?
Yeah, this particular one is called trauma shifting. One of my team members has developed something called rapid trauma resolution. That's a flavor of it. This
Yeah.
is work from based off of spiritual technology that was created over in Eastern Europe, and there's a lot of different flavors and people doing variations of it today.
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
so cool. What you shared with me is so doable for everybody listening on their own if they write down those questions that you asked me. And that's what I love about letting myself be kind of a sacrificial lamb on the podcast is
Hmm.
like, I know that we just went straight in and somebody else can do that. They can take themselves into a moment that they don't feel good and that is bringing them down. They can give a name to how it feels and give a name to how they want it to feel. They can go into the moment. They can go into a more optimal moment. Like you just gave everyone some self tools. What would you say to someone who does this and they really do it? Like they really feel it. And because I was seeing, which it's funny right before the podcast, like I have so much ease with sponsors for the show, which is super cool. They're just like, hey, we want to renew or whatever. But maybe it's because I pick great ones. I don't know, I love
Yeah.
them. But all of it said, I have this reference point of ease in another life and that in another area of my life, and that really helped me. Would you say that that's helpful for people who are doing this exercise? Because sometimes you might say to them, like, feel how you want to feel, and it's like so far away from that moment. Maybe they're like, I just can't. Or do you
Yes.
find that people tend to successfully pull their feelings?
Oh my God. That is such a good question. And I so appreciate that you get that even though it was easy for you, it can be challenging for other
Yeah.
people. Or perhaps this piece was easy for you and you could see how it could be challenging for you in another area where you don't have that anchor point, right?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
a couple things that people can ask themselves is um, is number one, reminding people that when you go into that feeling and what you're creating, reminding them this is not real life. You can imagine anything you want. You can imagine money falling from the sky. You can imagine the person who is mean to you turning into a cartoon bunny rabbit. You can do anything that your mind desires to generate the feeling. So that's the first thing. And that gives people so much freedom because a lot of them are like, but that's not real.
Mhm.
That's not what we're going for. That's not how this actual process works. So
Mhm.
imagine anything you need to. The second thing is asking yourself, okay, this is how I want to feel. Have
Mhm.
I felt like that ever?
Mhm.
Ever as a child and any other point, like when I was at recess or when the bell rang and it was time for summer break? Have I ever felt that anywhere? And go back to that feeling as
Mhm.
best you can. That's another tool.
Mhm.
And then there's also the like, you don't have an access point. Imagine what it would feel like. I've never won $1 billion in the lottery,
Yeah.
but I can add, and so for me to go, I don't know what that would feel like. I can't possibly know. No, but I can imagine and I can take a stab at it and see and imagine what it might be like for me. So those are three tools that I think when people get stuck at that point can really help them.
Yeah.
And it really, there has to be a generated feeling, which is why I was so excited when you're like, I'm smiling. Because if it's just an exercise, yep, feel good. Yep, this. And you're up here the whole time, this process, go get a taco because it'll be a better use of your time than running through this if you're staying up intellectual in your head.
Yeah, people need to get that ladder going from their mind to their heart, which is really hard sometimes when that's not necessarily their conditioning. It's something I write about in my book and I think about a lot. Cause even with me, it's like it's not absolute, right? Like I'm not a heartfelt person everywhere. I'm not a mind-centered person everywhere. I know how to use my heart in some areas and I lead with my mind in others. And so all of us have work to be done. It's the same with confidence, right? It's not like I just like busted out of my mom's, vag, just so confident. Okay, one question I have for you before we go is I feel like there's a lot of people who are working on their issues like on and on. But one thing I've seen that you say is that they're really just coping with those issues. They're not necessarily working on their issues.
Yes.
What is
Yes.
tell me a little bit about that because I wanna out someone who's listening right now to be like, "Hello,
Yes.
you are not
Yes.
working on it." Like, let's call them out, help them see it right now.
I love this. Okay, we'll leave with two final points. The first one, I just want to build off of what you just said. You said the ladder from the mind to the heart. There is an actual scientific term that people can, if they're fascinated by this or curious about it, you can look up, and there's a whole host of scientific studies and research that's been coming out. The term is interoception, interoception,
Mhm.
interoception. And that's basically how connected are you to yourself and your inner experience? If you don't know when you're getting angry, if you can't tell that you're getting frustrated, if you can't tell that your boundaries have been stepped over, or that you're anxious going into this call and then you flub it and then you're like, I'm so frustrated, but you didn't know what was going on internally, it's difficult to change. And processes like what you just did, like it's obvious you've done so much inner work, but
Thank
for other people, if they're like, why can't I do it? There's the, it's okay to pause, look at and research, look into this concept of interoception and building that bridge between the mind and the heart. That is an important foundation for people who find some of these processes challenging. It's not that they won't work for you. It's not that you're broken. You just might need to build a few interoception muscles first, like you obviously have. So I wanted to make sure people knew that
you.
in case people tried this and found it frustrating. It's not you and you're not broken and it's okay. You just
Right.
might need a step one first.
Mm,
Um, so that's number one. And then number two, in terms of what you just said, that is such a big deal. So many clients come to us and go, "How could you possibly help me? I have been working on my anxiety for 20 years. I have been dealing with my procrastination since I was 14, right?" And if you have been dealing with or working on something for an extended period of time, you're not eliminating it. You're not removing the splinter. You're not removing or addressing the root cause, because if you were, it wouldn't come back.
mm,
Most specifically, you're numbing it, whether it's alcohol, sex, or working out, workaholism. You're doing something else, so you're numbing the whatever is going on, or you're doing some type of coping mechanism so that it doesn't seem like such a big deal. Like maybe you meditate and you're able to bring your nervous system into a state of calm. But then as soon as you get agitated again, it's still there. And
right.
so if something is coming back over and over and over, you
Mhm,
are dealing with a splinter that's still inside of you and you're putting bandages and ointment over it.
mm,
Okay. Um, Now, if true transformation, rapid transformation is figuring out why is this issue here
mhm,
and then pulling out the splinter. So that's why I say with this piece of your trauma from 2016, when you go back to look for that and feel that charge, it's not there, it's gone. Like that is the difference between, we're going to talk about it, do you see how that may not happen in the past, and you're like, I feel a little better, thanks for this talk, and then tomorrow you're going to feel the charge again because we didn't clear it, we
mm,
just tried to tamp it down. So
mm,
that's the difference between subtracting the root cause, and then you're not dealing with this issue anymore. Your anxiety should go away, your procrastination should go away, your fear of launching should go away and not be there, versus I pushed through it, I numbed it, I talked myself out of it, but it's still there and you're still having to deal with it over and over.
yeah.
That's the
I feel like
difference.
sometimes information is just freaking constipation. I don't know who said that, but it resonates. It's like, we don't need more information from head to head. We need head to heart. We need to feel. And there's so much science behind it. It's like,
Hmm.
you know, it feels so woo woo to a lot of people to feel your shitty feelings, but it helps
Yeah.
and moves things forward. And there's power to it, right? It's like really
when
let
when
yourself.
done right, right, a lot of people are like, I don't want to be a negative person, I don't want to sit in it, I don't want to stew in it, I don't want to be pulled into it, and that's scary. And I agree with that because I had major depressive disorder for most of my life, and I
Mhm,
sat in just depression and it was
mhm,
horrible. So I was like, I don't want to feel. When you know how to actually feel something quick, process through it, like what you just did, you felt the hopeless, you felt the suffocation, you felt the simplicity, you felt a few things for a little bit, but when it's done properly, you process through something to clear it. You don't have to sit in it anymore.
right. Right. Thank you so much for this. This has been
Mhm.
such a great conversation.
Yeah.
Been a minute since I've had somebody like ask me the questions and let me bare my soul in front of everyone. So I hope it helped one of you out there. Please let us know. And where can everybody find you, work with you,
Yeah.
all of the things?
Mindfixgroup.com. Go there, go straight to the results page, and just spend some time looking around and see what's possible.
Mhm.
If you want a conversation with me or you want to explore what's possible for you, click the big green apply button at the top, and you and I can have a great call. If you want something a bit more informal, you can follow me on Facebook. I believe I'm the only Erin Phiel that exists there, and I often share client wins and personal stories. Um, and you can kind of follow along as we keep impacting people around the world.
We break, you fix. Love that so much. Thanks again for being here, Erin.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning into the U-Turn podcast. And thank you again so much for our sponsors. We are here because of you. And to our listeners, thank you for checking out our sponsors. We always pick people and brands that we trust and we believe in. And just for listening to the show, writing your reviews on the Apple app, and just being willing to make your own U-turns. We'll see you next week.